More than 400 years had passed since Samuel anointed David king over Israel, and nearly as much time had gone by since David's son Solomon had built the temple. During those 4 centuries, the line of David continued, establishing this dynasty as one of the longest in history. There was widespread belief that God would protect the dynasty and Jerusalem's temple forever. After all, Jerusalem escaped destruction when Israel fell to the Assyrians in 722 BC and was somehow spared after surrendering to Nebuchadnezzar after a 3-month siege in 598. So it was no small crisis when in 587 BC both the line of David and the temple came to an abrupt end. This crisis is central to Ezekiel 33 to 48. Ezekiel gives hope to the exiled community. Flesh will soon return to the dead, dry bones that once were Israel, and God will again breathe life into a destroyed community. Dr. Catherine Pfister-Darr illustrates how Ezekiel came to address the great theological dilemma that faced the exiled Israelites. How could such a devastating tragedy befall God's chosen people?
Numerous passages in our Hebrew scriptures speak about Jerusalem's central role in ancient Israel's theology. 2 Samuel 7, for example, recounts how God told King David of God's plans to establish an eternal Davidic dynasty in Jerusalem, the future site of God's temple. The prophet Nathan told his king, "The Lord declares to you that the Lord will make you a dynasty. When your days are fulfilled and you lie down with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring after you, who shall come forth from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a temple for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." The temple Solomon built was undoubtedly important from the day it was completed. After all, it was the royal site of worship. But the Bible tells us that the temple's already considerable importance increased during succeeding generations. Over time, the people of Judah came to believe that God would never allow anything to happen to Jerusalem and its holy temple. Psalm 48 testifies to this belief. "Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, the Lord's holy mountain. Beautiful in elevation is the joy of all the earth. Mount Zion, in the far north, the city of the great King. Within its citadels, God has proven to be a sure defense." How the people of Judah must have clung to words such as these as the Babylonian army besieged their capital. But Ezekiel believed that Jerusalem's inhabitants had defiled their city and its temple, and that as a consequence, God would permit the Babylonians to destroy both city and shrine, and to force its Davidic king into exile. In a lengthy allegory, Ezekiel 16 depicts Jerusalem as a baby, despised and abandoned by her Amorite and Hittite parents. God sees her covered with her birth blood, exposed in an open field, and saves her life. The child grows to womanhood and attains sexual maturity. When God passes by her again and sees that she has reached the age for married love, he becomes her husband, bathing her, anointing her with oil, clothing her in the finest of garments, feeding her with fine food, and bedecking her with jewelry. She becomes exceedingly beautiful, fit for royalty, famous among the nations. Despite such lavish treatment, however, Jerusalem forgets her wretched beginnings and the husband who saved her life. Jerusalem plays the harlot, constructing idols from the silver and gold God has given her, offering up God's children to these images and herself to passers-by at every crossroad. So obscene are her acts that even Philistine women are shocked. Moreover, her harlotries include not only idolatry, but also the forging of alliances with other nations, Assyria, Babylon, Egypt. In short, she has acted in ways Ezekiel presents as fully justifying the judgment with which God, her husband, now threatens her. I will gather all your lovers with whom you took pleasure, all those you loved and all those you hated. I will gather them against you from all around and will uncover your nakedness to them so that they may see all your nakedness. I will judge you as women who commit adultery and shed blood are judged, and bring blood upon you in wrath and jealousy. I will deliver you into their hands, and they shall throw down your platform and break down your lofty places. They shall strip you of your clothes and take your beautiful objects and leave you naked and bare. Remarkably, Ezekiel 16 does not end with this description of Jerusalem's punishment. Instead, it looks beyond her destruction to the future, when she will be restored. Recalling her past, Jerusalem will be ashamed, yet God will remember the covenant made with Jerusalem in her youth and forgive her all she has done. Ezekiel's imagery, troubling though it may be, reflects his absolute conviction that his fellow exiles must accept and acknowledge the consequences of their sins for God's temple in Jerusalem, described in 24:21 as the pride of your power, the delight of your eyes, and your heart's desire. Only then will the prophet begin to speak of a future for the city and its temple. When God's judgment has come to pass, Ezekiel 34:23 through 24 proclaims, I will set up over Israel one shepherd, my servant David, and he shall feed them. He shall feed them and be their shepherd, and I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David shall be prince among them. God's glory will return to the city, filling its new temple and tabernacling in the midst of Israel forever. And the name of Jerusalem shall be changed to Yahweh Shema, the Lord is there. From the temple's foundation shall stream a trickle of water that grows as it flows to the east, changing Israel's most barren land into a virtual Garden of Eden, and so transforming the waters of the Dead Sea that they shall teem with numerous fish of many kinds. Along its banks will grow fruit-bearing trees that yield their harvest every month, and whose leaves have medicinal qualities. Behold, God shall do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not see it?